Hello estate! In today's video we are going to talk about the definition of conceptual fine art photography and the difference between this form of photography versus general photography. Before we begin, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified first when I upload a video and also to support my channel. Welcome to my channel. I'm Gokce, fine art photographer from Turkey. Especially in my country, people have less information about conceptual fine art photography. That's why people whose paths cross with mine are always surprised when they see my photos because they consider them not as a photograph but a painting. In order to define fine art photography, it's necessary to determine one thing first: the place of photography in the art world. Photography has been evaluated in the category fine arts, and fine arts are the arts that are pleasing to the eye, such as painting, sculpture, architecture, and so on. Another thing we need to emphasize is that not every photograph is a fine art photograph and not every photographer is a fine art photographer. That's why people always argue about if photography is art or not. There are millions of people uploading their images on social media without any second thought, and also photographs can be copied very easily so that numerous copies can be made from a single photo. This eliminates the rareness feature of photo, which is the most important phenomena in art. Therefore, if a photographer has taken a photograph and plans to sell it as a work of art, it must be done in a designated number of copies called edition. Today, while people debate on whether photography is an art form or not, I believe that such a discussion is so meaningless. In the past, yes, photography was a tool that only shows the truth, but today this function has disappeared. Therefore, for me, art can be made with photography. Another issue that needs to be mentioned is that nowadays most photographers are more concerned with the technology side of the photography rather than the image itself. However, the viewer doesn't primarily care about the technology aspect of the photo. What they are really interested in is what they see in the photo frame and how they interpret this framed image with their inner world. If we have to look from the fine art photograph's point of view, a fine art photographer isn't interested in taking photos of reality. And also, a fine art photograph must go beyond the basic and literal photographic representation of a scene or subject. It's not about capturing what the camera sees. It's about capturing what the artist sees. The photographer must have an aesthetic concern first for all, and the intent behind taking the photo is crucial. If you noticed so far, I've talked about fine art photography, not conceptual fine art photography, because conceptual fine art photography is a subcategory of fine art photography. Since fine art photography can be done in many subcategories of photography, such as portrait photography, landscape photography, and so on, it's difficult to define fine art photography in a specific form. So now it's time to define what I do, what's conceptual fine art photography. But I really like the definition which I saw in the internet that says photographers shoot and share what they see, but conceptual fine art photographers shoot an image that they envision in their head and share this image with the world. I think it's a very accurate definition. Conceptual fine art photographers use photography as a tool to create art. The photo frame is the blank canvas of fine art photographer, just like a painter, but the importance of photography knowledge cannot be denied while filling this blank canvas. In addition, the concept of sharing your art with the world in this definition also seems accurate to me. I read this in a book saying, if you create art, you should not keep it to yourself. You must share it with the rest of the world. What do you think about this? Is it really necessary for the artist to show his or her art with the rest of the world? Let me know in the comments. In order for a photograph to be considered as art, it must have an aesthetic quality and a creative point of view, as well as having a positive or negative impact on the viewer. Not always necessarily, but in general, there should be a message so that the feedback has to be received by the viewer. In other words, the message here is the emotion that evokes on the viewer. So, how does this emotion awake on the viewer? Let me explain with an example that is frequently given. Think of it this way. While we are looking at photos on social media, you pass most of them within seconds, but you also stop and look some of them for a long time, right? What drives you to stop and take a look at these photos? There must have been an impact in your inner world. And this impact has not necessarily had to be positive. It can also be negative. You can like a photo for some reasons or you don't. But even if you don't like it, there must be a reason why you don't like it. And this is the photo's feedback on the viewer. For example, I always receive negative feedback about my photos, which has a theme about that. But that's completely okay. I know that the feedback is not actually about my photo, it's about the theme. It's about the emotional bond that my photo establishes on the viewer. And that's also so precious to me. Finally, it's also worth mentioning about the post-production process in the art photography. Post-production can be defined as the process which starts with finishing the shoot and ends with presentation of the photo. Post-production process mainly consists of processing the photo with a software and then printing it. Processing the photo by software means photo manipulation, which includes all interventions that change the reality of the photograph. In the process of creating a fine art photograph, manipulation can be inevitable. With manipulation, reality changes and rewritten again. Photo manipulation is the subject of an endless debate between photographers too. But however, since the photograph no longer has the task of showing the truth, there should be no harm in making it aesthetically pleasing by changing with manipulation. Before ending, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up and the subscribe button, and also hit the bell icon to be notified first when I upload a video. Thank you for watching till the end. See you next time.